Well, look who's back for another episode of Second Cup. I'm your host, Tim Heller. My guest today is a new friend, Michael Simpson. Michael's day job is in the environmental and sustainability industries in Hamilton, Scotland, just a wee town outside of Glasgow. But he's recently started his journey into the voice acting world and booked his first paid gig only a week ago. Hell yeah, Michael. Top off your beverage, get comfy, and enjoy this episode of Second Cup.
It's probably good to have decaf at 2. I've been doing it I've been having a cup of coffee at like 3 in the afternoon some days, which is probably not great for my sleep. But Michael Simpson, good morning, good afternoon. You're joining us from Scotland.
Good afternoon, Tim. Yeah.
Cheers. Lovely to meet you face to face for the very first time. How's your day
Likewise.
been, and how are you feeling today?
Yeah, it's been a busy week. Looking forward to the weekend, but it's been good. The sun is shining, which we can't always say is the case here in Scotland, but it puts a smile on my face. So looking forward to the weekend.
Good. And where in Scotland are you located?
I'm located in a town called Hamilton, which is just outside of Glasgow. And sort of family, dog as well, so yeah, it's all good.
That's great. The works.
Yeah, I'm trying to make sure she's staying out of trouble and not making any noise in the background.
Oh, that's totally fine. Dogs are welcome. My door's open and my dog may come in and out as well. But Michael, I want to say thank you so much for reaching out and wanting to be a part of this and wanting to have a chat this morning and this afternoon for yourself. I'd love to get, for the listeners and myself, just a quick who are you, what you do? I know you mentioned to me on the intake form that you work in environmental activism or environmental studies as your day job while you're getting started in VO. I'd love to learn just a little bit more about who you are.
Yeah, of course. My name is Michael Simpson. I'm new to the world of voiceover. It's something that I've always had a passion for it. And some things have happened in my personal life that made me really go after it, looking to really chase it as a career. But in terms of the day job, I'm head of environment and sustainability with a healthcare organisation in the UK, and it's great. It's just so rewarding. But I would love to be able to sort of meld that with the voiceover work. I think they would go hand in hand in terms of telling that story of what we need to do to tackle climate change, reaching net zero, all that good stuff. We're quite early in that process, as I say, but outside of work, outside of VO, enjoy spending time with my family. We've got a young Cocker Spaniel, Mabel. She's just turned 6 months old. So it's been challenging, but it's so rewarding as well. It's just so fulfilling. I wish I'd gotten a dog sooner, actually.
Yeah. We have a standard poodle named Stu, and he's got a mohawk, and
amazing.
It was definitely interesting when he was a puppy to try to be recording and figuring out. Luckily, at the time, my wife had been. She kind of spearheaded the training, but as soon as we got him, I was like, "Oh man, I wish we had done this so much sooner."
Yeah, it's so good. I just love the social aspect to it as well, with going walks and just bumping into people, having a chat.
Yeah, it's a great excuse to actually get outside, especially when you're working towards your job being in a booth. Yeah. Actually getting outside with some fresh air, it's good. Yeah.
It's a bit different from the voiceover booth, it has to be said.
Yeah. And so how long ago did you start your kind of journey into voiceover? And if you feel okay sharing, what were those events that really launched you, felt like gave you permission to really dive into this?
Yeah, of course. So I started my journey probably around a year ago, just over a year ago.
Great.
I say it's always been a passion that I've had with appreciating different voiceover artists, I suppose the art of the voice as well.
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of audiobooks, so I never really took the time to appreciate the work that goes on behind the scenes and get involved in voiceover. And I actually have to give full credit to Voiceover Training Scotland, an organisation here based in Glasgow, led by Donald and Borja. And I started with that online course, seeing it online, thinking, you know what, it's time for it. It's time to go for it. And genuinely, it's been one of the best things I've ever done. It was it was such good fun, but it was just so fulfilling as well. I felt it was really...
It's awesome to hear.
Advancing myself and getting to know new people with different backgrounds. The core group was quite small. I think there were around 6 of us. Most, bar 2 of us, had a theatre background, had attended the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland, and there was another guy who was a painter and decorator, and me, who were just throwing themselves into it, and I think arguably we enjoyed it the most because it was just such a brand new experience. And it really sparked something in me in terms of, you know, I would love to be able to do this as a full-time job, as a career, and getting into that creative industry. I suppose what really flicked the switch, I suppose, was, there was a conversation I was having with a friend, and it was being able to really they were quite unhappy with their job at the time and decided to do just a complete career change. And then that was the same week I was listening to a podcast who was talking about success versus happiness, and what's the point of being successful if you're unhappy. It's all well and good if you're earning 6 figures plus on Wall Street, but if you're selling your soul and don't feel that you're being fulfilled, what's the point, almost, if you're unhappy? At that stage it really hit home, and I think that's what really sparked me to go after voiceover training Scotland. I had the reel recorded after completion of the course, and being able to that then allowed me to apply for different gigs, and secured my first ever paid gig last week, 2 weeks ago.
Hey, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
That's freaking awesome.
It felt a bit of a weight off the shoulders, but it was good just to get that first one done. And
it's like a big exhale, like, okay, cool. First step taken. We're good. Let's boogie. Yeah,
exactly. And feeling less of that imposter syndrome as well. So yeah, it was good.
Oh, that doesn't quite go away. It's it comes on in varying degrees, but it definitely, you learn how to navigate it a little bit better.
Yeah. So
I would love to get your perspective, Michael, just on having started just a year ago diving into this. And I started not that long ago. This November will be 5 years.
Wow.
And so it still at least feels fresh for me, and I remember so vividly how I got started, what I had to do. But it was also, it was 5 years ago, and a lot has changed in the world and in the industry in 5 years. And I'd love for our listeners to hear what you did to really get started and to get to that first paid gig. Because for so many people, and I've had a lot of folks reach out recently, or like a handful, saying, hey, I'm ready to do this for my 9 to 5. I'm doing this, and this. I don't have money for classes, but I'm going, like, just send me a job, do this. And I'm like, that's awesome. But, you do have to get some kind of training, whether that's you've gone to acting school, theater school, you've taken improv classes, singing lessons, whatever that may be. And you took that awesome first step of just being like, you know what, I want to do this. Let me find a class. And you don't have to have a theater background in order to be doing this. But I'd love to hear your story on the steps you've taken to get where you are now.
Yeah, sure. Well, the course through Voiceover Training Scotland was certainly the biggest step, but I've realised fairly quickly that having some sort of theatre background or acting experience helps. Just be able, yourself, being able to convey different characters, different situations. And it was really, I just took it upon myself to see what was out there in terms of training, looking on Udemy, YouTube, just all the free resources that are out there. And I think that's the thing to highlight, is there are so many free resources.
Yeah.
So just trying to get more familiar with, different systems like Ableton and everything that's out there. But also probably the other biggest thing was sound design, which I knew nothing about and being able to properly treat a room. I'm currently in my office, which I use for the day job, but it doesn't really serve at the moment for recording. So I've literally a cupboard that I record in.
Yes, that's great.
It works well. It works well.
Yeah.
It's a start.
I was in a cupboard for 3 years in New York when I got started, and it's and I loved every second of it, every sweaty second.
Yeah, it gets hot pretty quickly. But it's surprisingly good in terms of the sound quality. And yeah, I've got some courses planned as well for further sound treatment of a room. And actually, I came across your reel that you were doing a bit of a walk around of possibly the room you're in at the moment. It's oh wow, it looks so cool. I would love to be able to replicate something like that, because you think sound treatment doesn't need to look good when clearly that's not the case.
Thank you very much.
So yeah, it's great. I just love the Gatsby looking panel behind you as well.
Thank you. Yeah, these are panels I've had for a minute now. They're from GIK Acoustics, and it's their portable isolation booth. I bought two sets of them when I came down, when we moved from New York to Austin, and they were the back of my little closet fort hybrid booth when we were in our apartment and in the house, and they were all set up in halfway out of that closet, and then I just took them apart and put them up on the wall, and I was like, wow, this is
cool.
This is pretty special.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's, in terms of my own further development, I feel that I want to keep up the momentum after securing that first paid gig, and not rest on any laurels. It's just about continually developing, I suppose, which is something I've done in my day job anyway. But yeah, if I'm really serious about making this a full-time thing, yeah, you need to devote some time and effort into learning, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. And how did you go about securing this first paid gig of yours?
Well, I'm on an agency website, ScottishVoiceovers.com. Can leave a link to the profile, and it's very specific because it's particularly if the client is looking for a Scottish voiceover. Yeah,
I checked it out last night. I was like, wow, this is awesome. Now I know exactly where I need to go if I ever need a Scottish narrator.
There you go. So a shameless plug there, but
as you should. This is your time.
And yeah, it's maybe surprising to people outside of Scotland or the UK just how many regional accents there can be. Not even in Scotland, but the UK as a whole. It's just really rich and diverse in terms of that accent range. So that's the main website that I use. But obviously there are so many more out there, but it was really just the agency contacting me, securing the audition, which was just a read through of the script, which turned out to be the final script.
Great.
I personally didn't really like the script. I found it actually quite difficult because it didn't have any punctuation, wasn't quite sure, how dramatic or anything they wanted it. It's difficult because it's your interpretation of it, isn't it? And it does that fit with what the client is looking for, but thankfully it did. Just a few tweaks and some feedback on the actual recording, and I was paid the same week as well, which I was pleasantly surprised at. I was expecting...
That's brilliant. That is
significantly
that is
longer.
Rarity.
Yeah, so not a bad start, it has to be said.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it sounds like, Michael, you're doing all the right stuff and you have the right attitude about just hustling with it. And when I say hustling, I want to be clear. I'm not meaning like you have to kill yourself to be doing this, because I feel like that hustle mindset is so easily tossed around. Like you have to be like up at 4 a.m. doing all this stuff and constantly spending money to get where you want to be and grinding and like all this stuff. And you can find balance within there too. And like you said earlier, what is it actually worth if you're miserable? And so finding that balance is really, really important. It sounds like sounds like you're doing it.
No.
So
appreciate that. Thank you.
Moving forward, like what are some goals you have in the next year, or plans you have, or where you feel like you're struggling and you want to improve or grow your business in the next year, if you've even thought about that yet?
Yeah, well, it's interesting you mention balance, because that's probably, maybe for everyone getting started in the industry, but certainly what I've found that's been the biggest struggle is balancing it with high demands of the day job. But then it's just being able to find the time outside of work to do voiceover or look at some additional learning. Because if you add up the time we spend watching Netflix, sitting on the couch after work, that time could be used perhaps more productively. And I think that's where I am at the moment. Really just holding myself to account, being more disciplined with the free time and putting that to use, still having fun and getting away from work, voiceover, everything. But it's all about balance, and I do have an exit plan within the next year to really
That's fantastic.
grow the business and see where it goes. I think planting the seeds with some possible leads just now, and then hopefully they'll come to fruition within the next year or so. But I think I've set myself a 1-year deadline to get out. It'll give me time to properly think over where, because it's just such a diverse industry, where do I see myself going?
Yeah.
And as I said at the beginning, trying to do voiceover and do all the, I suppose, bread and butter stuff with, paid voiceover gigs, commercials, that kind of thing. But I think the core of it would be something around the environmental movement, telling that story, getting people engaged, but importantly, showing people that they can make an impact too. It's not all about pressuring government or big corporations to do more. We can all play our part. Yeah. And ultimately, if that's scaled up over all of us, it should make quite a meaningful difference. So, that's off the top of my head, that's kind of where I want to go, but that's certainly the direction. Yeah.
That's great. An exit plan for 1 year at the 2-year mark. That's bold, and I'm absolutely here for it. It's freaking awesome.
And I'm accountable because it's now out there. It's with your listeners, so need to check back in 1 year, see if it's been successful.
Beginning of August 2023, everybody's going to be hitting up Michael Simpson VO, being like, "All right, Michael, you out? What you doing?"
It's out there, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Michael, we are already at time. This has been so nice to get to talk to you and to get to know you. And I know this is not the last time that we will be speaking, either in this capacity or any other. Is there anything else that you'd like to promote or plug, or where people can find you on social media or LinkedIn at all before we wrap up?
Yeah, sure. Most prominent for me at the moment is Instagram. I'm also on TikTok. Both the same handle, at Michael Simpson VO. And find me there. Has Linktree in place to all my bio, Scottish voiceovers. But if anyone has any inquiries, DMs, wants to know a bit more about me in terms of the journey till now, appreciate I'm still very early on in the process, but happy to share my experience. Please get in touch. That'd be great.
That's awesome. And for everybody listening, go check out his demos. They are awesome and very, very nice to listen to. So well done on those, Michael.
Thank you very much, Tim.
As our wrap up, I have a couple of quick fire questions for you.
Let's go.
Nothing. Oh, yes, let's go. All right. No preface here. We're going to dive right in. Who inspires you right now?
My dad.
Your dad. Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Reluctantly an early bird, but don't like it.
That's fair.
Don't like early mornings.
Are you? So when was the last time that you belly laughed, and why?
Ooh, 2 weeks ago, watching The Naked Gun, which I hadn't seen in ages. Amazing. It's comedy gold, timeless.
It really is. Leslie Nielsen. Yes, absolutely.
So good.
Last question. You can only have pizza one more time. Where from and what's on it?
Ooh. I have an uni pizza oven.
Oh my
getting
goodness.
good at it.
Tell us,
so I think
for the listeners who don't know what an uni pizza oven is, enlighten them, because it is
Uni
amazing.
is actually a Scottish company, so I'm plugging
I
the
didn't
Scots
know
here.
that. All right.
Yeah. So uni pizza oven, it can be wood fired or charcoal fired, and it's got a stone base. Heats up to like 500 degrees Celsius, and it gives amazing home pizzas at almost no reason to go to a store to get a pizza now. It's so good and so convenient too, cheap to run. Yeah, so it need to be on the uni. Keep it simple with ham, mushroom, mozzarella, some chili oil.
Ooh.
Ideal.
Yes, absolutely. I support that. Well, Michael, cheers to you. Thank you again for coming on, and I really, really look forward to kind of keeping track of how you're doing and progressing, and if you ever need anything, feel free to reach out. Cheers.
Thanks. Take care, Tim. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Second Cup featuring my new friend, Michael Simpson. To connect with Michael and stay up to date with his VO journey, follow him on Instagram at Michael Simpson VO. That's at Michael Simpson VO. Sorry, I can't not. This show is recorded and produced by Tim Heller Creative, LLC. If you're a small or large business and would like to sponsor the show, reach out to Tim at timhellercreative.com. We can have a little chat to see if we're a good fit. Tune in next time for another incredible conversation and to learn something new from a really cool person.